In the big city, murder is a fact of life.
Driver sticks his hand out and fires 2 shots at him.
Indianapolis is no different.
They didn't help me try to get up, Mama.
But in Indy, killers get locked up.
Right now, you're under arrest for murder. Yeah, murder.
It has what many cities don't. An all-star homicide shift that works a steady stream of calls from 2 till 10, 7 days a week.
Got a warrant for murder.
When these killer cops catch a murder case, it gets solved quickly.
I think this guy's full of
Wednesday, 2 p.m. No homicides in days. IMPD shift detectives Leisha Moore, Sergeant Jeff Breedlove, and Christine Menina are on deck.
I kind of feel like something's gonna happen. It's warm out today. Ready to go to work. What's up?
Just 2 hours later, Detective Moore receives a call from Sergeant McCart of the IMPD Robbery Division. He explains that they have a man in custody who claims to have knowledge of a homicide.
He told me they had a burglary earlier today, and the suspect that they apprehended confessed to another robbery. And he said these confessions have been panning out. And they also took him on a tour at one of the venues, and he begins to tell them that he helped move a dead body. He gets there, the body's already wrapped in plastic and duct tape, and he says he helped dump the body, he says, into Fall Creek. I asked Sergeant McCart to bring this guy over here so that we can interview him.
The confessor's name is Adrian Rocket, a 19-year-old Indy native.
This is the guy coming in. Adrian Rocket.
Detective Breedlove is skeptical of Rocket's story and questions his motives.
A couple years ago, the FBI brought over a guy, same situation. I spent all night here researching, and come to find out he was just trying to get a deal.
Right.
All I'm saying is this guy could be, I keep coming up with bigger stuff thinking, well, they're not letting me go for that. Maybe I'll say a murder.
Yeah. You know, this kind of thing happens all the time, but who knows? He could be telling the truth.
His confessions in reference to the burglaries and the robberies have panned out.
Detectives meet with Robbery Division investigators Craig McCart, Krista Dobbs, and Richie Ray to get a sense of whether or not Adrian Rocket can be trusted.
I've got 3 that have panned out. Okay.
I think this guy's full of
You know, when we showed up, he told me he would be in the house today at the search warrant.
And somebody,
he was
and
right.
that person was in the house.
Yeah.
Why is he talking about a murder, though? I mean,
He just is telling all.
Or do you think that because he's given us this information that he's going to walk out of here tonight? Do you think that?
There were no promises made.
I mean, he knows he's getting locked up.
Yes.
For our stuff.
well, I don't understand why he would jump from burglaries to homicide. That's a huge jump. I'm not sure what his reasoning would be.
A skeptical Menina heads in to interrogate Rocket with Moore, while Breedlove and the other detectives observe.
You have to understand we're homicide. Burglary's got their deal, and we got ours. You mentioned something about a cleanup. We need to know about that because obviously that body hasn't come up yet, and we're going to try to put the pieces of that one together if what you're telling us is the truth. What can you tell us about that?
Rocket explains that he is willing to cooperate, but refuses to give up any names. All he says is that several months ago, he was called to a house to clean up a body.
I goes in the basement. It's a body wrapped up in a trash bag, duct tape around his neck, stomach, and legs. It's a big old plastic thing on the floor, and there was a chair full of blood. He like, I need you to go over there and dump this over there.
Where did you put the body?
In the river.
So the spot you can take us to, right?
You can take, because don't nobody stay there no more. They moved out of there.
Is it vacant?
I don't know if it's vacant, but they moved out of there, though.
But you can show us where it's at.
Oh, yeah. Can't miss it. It's a White House.
Do you know how they killed him?
No telling.
You never asked?
Nope.
And you never asked who it was?
I don't ask no questions. You just don't ask questions in line of work out there.
The story is compelling, but Breedlove is doubtful that Rocket is telling the truth.
He's going to agree to anything they friggin' say to him.
Let's make one up.
I'm going to text her to do that.
Breedlove sends Manina a text, asking her to test Rocket by questioning him about a homicide that never happened.
So you haven't heard anything else about that murder?
Only way I know some more about that murder if I go talk to some people.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I don't really know about that.
But Rocket doesn't take the bait.
Why are you telling us all this stuff?
Because I've been having it on my chest for a long time, and I got talking to a therapist, and she was just like, you need to tell the police, you know too much. You know what I mean? That's probably why you always get in trouble. Because every time I try to do right, I always, you know what I mean, I take 2 steps forward, then I always find my way back in my same spot. And she was just because she was like, you got so much stuff on your heart. You got a good heart, but you got a bad heart at the same time. She said you need to get rid of the bad and bring in some good.
Detectives decide there is enough to look into Rocket's story. They drive him in cuffs to the East Indianapolis neighborhood where this mysterious murder allegedly took place.
I'm just gonna take 30th Street over. I don't know if you're behind me or not, but I'm going north on Delaware. Kind of fun hanging with the police, isn't it? No?
Yeah. Big time.
That's right here. Make it right. Go all the way down to that white garage.
There's a new resident in the house, and detectives have to ask for permission to enter.
I don't mean to freak you out. We got some information that a crime may have occurred in this house when you were here.
Is it okay to find out what kind of crime was committed?
Well, murder.
Okay, how long ago?
Last summer.
Okay.
We don't know if it's true. We just want him to show us.
We don't have the
places.
body yet. We're kind of working back asswards.
Yeah, so.
He's saying that this happened down here.
Okay.
Is that
Cool.
okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Detectives scour the basement, looking for any signs of foul play.
Show us where you wiped blood off the walls.
Over here. Yeah. I wiped this wall down, that wall down, and the floor.
And the floor. So this whole area right here, that wall.
Yeah. The chair was in the middle.
How far on the wall did the blood go up?
Make it up to his drawer. It was
Okay.
like little specks.
Okay.
Little specks? Yeah.
Okay.
So where was the plastic on the floor covered? How much?
That back wall right here, what I worked.
The cleaning supplies and all that stuff? Did you guys pitch that?
In the sewer.
In the sewer?
Yeah.
Where do you put it in the sewer?
Pull up a manhole and just put it in the sewer. Ain't nobody going in the sewer. No, I ain't.
Right. That's enough.
Alrighty, let's roll.
There is no physical evidence left behind at the scene, but the detectives let Rocket take them to see what he claims to have done next.
So you put him in the car. You hiked him down here.
Came to the alleyway.
This alley.
Yeah.
And where'd you dump his ass?
Right here.
Right here?
Yeah.
Somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., Rocket claims he and an accomplice approached the banks of Indianapolis's Fall Creek and dumped the body. A horrific end for an unknown victim. Coming up, detectives crank up the body search and call in cadaver dogs and the dive team. Was anyone ever dumped in Fall Creek?
Is there a body here?
IMPD homicide detectives are on the hunt for a body that may have been dumped in Fall Creek by robbery suspect Adrian Rocket.
We're heading back over to the northwest side of the city, meeting with the fire department and the dive team, and they're going to work their magic, and I'm going to stand there and see if they get the body, which will be soup if they get him. Hi, Trevor. How you doing? Good.
Chris meets with the Indianapolis Fire Department Special Operations Chief Trevor Haushoe to discuss the search plan along the river.
So what do you guys do first?
We'll start them upstream. They'll work the dogs down through here, see if we get any hits.
Okay.
If not, we'll start our search pattern. Just come down through here and see what kind of debris we can pull out. We might find some duct tape. We might find some, plastic sheeting or something like that.
Since Rocket claims to have dropped the body several months ago, and because it may have moved over time, the team brings in cadaver dogs to scour a wider area.
We have search canines that are going to be working the banks. They're cadaver dogs, so they mark on human remains in and around water. If any scent's coming up through the water column, they'll pick up on it. And then based on where they mark, that's where we'll deploy our divers.
We thought you should work back by this way one more time. So can you come back?
Yes, ma'am.
The current's going this way, but the wind, you can see, is pretty strong, so something at the surface might be blown actually against the current, because there's not, this is a water company canal, so it's controlled. So there's usually not a lot of current on this body of water.
The canine unit doesn't get a strong hit and heads back downstream. Dive team leader Richard Mann deploys his divers at the spot where Rocket supposedly dumped the body.
So we'll start from right in the middle of the canal, working our way back in and down the way here and then back. So what they're going to do is just kind of line up and then just walk down a certain part of the area right here where they identified whatever's supposed to be in the water right now. It's nasty water.
While the dive team gets in, cadaver dogs continue to sweep the river.
He's waiting for something to go by his nose.
There's a lot of debris in here, a lot of shopping carts and bikes and basically you name it. Very nasty water.
Okay. So they aren't going to have zero, visibility right now. Touchy-feely.
Is there a body here?
The major search effort is solely based off of information from Rocket, a robbery suspect whose word seems tenuous at best.
Part of me thinks he was full, but I have to check it out. People call 911 all the time just as a prank, but we got to show up. I would rather check it out and be wrong than a few days later a body pops up. I've done well if it does pop up, and the fact that the investigation is fairly strong if this did happen.
Nothing surfaces today, leading Menina's investigation to a dead end.
He definitely could be full of crap, but, we had to check it out, and we did a full-out, dive-out search for him, and they did such a good job of localizing the area, and he hasn't popped up anywhere, so it's probably the fact that he's full of crap, but we did what we needed to do. as far as the information that we got, we have to run it down, track it down, and that's what we did. So I feel pretty good and confident about that.
The next day, a new case breaks. Shots ring out in a residential neighborhood in northern Indianapolis, leaving a young man in a fight for his life. 25-year veteran IMPD detective Tom Tudor takes the lead in the investigation.
At this point, the victim is non-responsive. He's apparently been shot in the chest. We'll head up there and see what we got when we get up there.
At the scene, EMTs administer CPR to the victim, who is in cardiac arrest. Tudor arrives as they race to save the victim's life. But sadly, he succumbs to his injuries at the scene.
No!
26-year-old LaCoy Terrell Motley was gunned down in front of his friends and family, including his 3-year-old son.
Liz,
Hello.
any idea how many shots were fired?
I haven't. They were like 2 to 6.
2 to 6.
Detective Tudor takes a statement from Sergeant David Wisniewski and responding officer Joshua Reynolds.
First indication is the car came down here, fired the shots, and then backed up all the way to Sutherland.
Neighbors say that 2 men in a red SUV pulled up and a short time later fired shots at Terrell, then fled the scene.
And Officer Chapman's looking to see if there's any casings in the street.
But we do have people that have been separated.
We have the female separated over there.
And who's this?
Ashley Motley.
Okay. Ashley?
Uh-huh. The family is here right after. They were here when I got here.
Present at the scene are the victim's ex-wife, Ashley, and his mother, Rima Motley.
Does he live in that house?
Tudor needs to find out why the victim and his family were in this neighborhood.
All we know at this point is he does not live here. If you wouldn't mind going down there maybe and talking to Mom. She's down here somewhere. And see what she knows or how she found out. I don't know anything.
Moore goes to speak with Rima Motley, the mother of the victim.
Rima, I'm Detective Moore. I'm with IMPD Homicide, okay?
He did?
Yes, he is.
He died right away?
Yeah, it looks like he did. It looks like he did. Rima, I need to know, how did you find out?
Wait a minute. Oh, God, Jesus. Oh, God. He said, Mama, come get Dogger. That's his son. And I said, what, Dad? What's wrong? And he said, Mama, Ashley was somewhere. People, they do bad stuff, he said.
Rima says her son called to ask her to get his 3-year-old son from his ex-wife, Ashley. He said she was hanging around with some bad men.
And I said, I'm on my way.
Okay, so he said, Mama, Ashley's got the baby where they do bad things?
He died, Pete. Pete, he's laying over there. Come and get me. Pete.
Rima, it is very important that I get this information from you, okay? Okay? Did he say what Ashley was doing?
No. Y'all need to question Ashley. That's his ex-wife.
Right there?
Yeah. Oh, God, Jesus.
While Moore finishes up with Rima, Manina gives Tudor the rundown on what Ashley, the ex-wife, is saying about the incident.
She said she was picking up her son.
Now, whose kid is it?
It's his kid, and it's her kid.
Ashley claims that she had a run-in with her ex-husband Terrell earlier, where he took their son away from her. She arrived at the scene of the murder, determined to get her child back. When she drove up, she saw Terrell walking out of a friend's house.
And he was walking up towards her?
Yeah.
And the suspect car comes south and unloads on him. And he tries to run over here?
Yeah.
I need to know what happened before they got here and what caused all this.
Tudor must uncover how a day that started with a couple arguing over their 3-year-old son ended in murder.
You want to transport and get her downtown?
Yeah.
Get Mom to take the kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming up, a family at odds, and Tudor has to figure out why.
They didn't help me try to get our mama. They didn't help me.
In the murder of Terrell Motley, detectives have learned that prior to the shooting, Terrell and his ex-wife Ashley were in a heated argument over their 3-year-old son.
Rima, look at me. I need to find out what time that he called you.
They didn't help him try to get her. They didn't try to help me. They didn't help him try to get our mama. They didn't help me.
The victim's ex-wife, Ashley, lashes out at Terrell's mother in anger. Menina is forced to remove her from the scene to be questioned back at headquarters.
Can you look on your phone for me, Rima, and tell me what time it was that he called?
I'm trying.
Okay.
Detective Moore tries to lock in a timeline of Terrell's day with the victim's mother.
And right here he called. What time was that?
6:30.
Y'all need to talk to your friend over there that he was hanging around with.
Who's that?
Over there somewhere. He was down there.
Do you know his name?
I just know him by Shorty.
Okay.
He was with him today. That's the last time I saw him with him.
What time was that you saw him?
About 4:30.
Excuse me, are you Shorty?
Yep.
Hold on to him. He's a witness. Okay. He's going to be going downtown.
Shorty, as well as Ashley, will have to be interviewed downtown. In the meantime, Tudor continues his investigation on site.
Hi, I'm Detective Tudor. I'm with Metro Homicide. What did you see in here?
Man, we were just sitting on the couch, man, and all of a sudden we heard 2 shots. So by the time we got to the door, it was a red car.
How many were in the car?
It was 2.
How good a look did you look at the driver? Can you describe him?
I think he had like braids or dreadlocks.
Tudor talks to the second witness.
My dog kept barking, so I looked to the door. Yeah, the guy in the car
was talking to her.
Well, yeah.
The witness claims that the alleged shooters were talking to the victim's ex-wife, Ashley, just before the shooting.
He kept telling her, you see what happens? You see what happens? And she just was crying and crying.
He claims that it was at this point that Terrell walked up on the conversation Ashley was having with the guys in the red SUV.
What?
Yeah.
There's no doubt that there's some going on between the woman and the people in the car. Like she knows it.
She knows.
Tudor gets his first break. Ashley should know the men who killed Terrell, the father of her 3-year-old son.
Chris? Okay.
Tudor passes on this crucial information to Detective Menina.
You need to really make an impression upon her. She knows who's driving that car. Now, here's the deal. She was seen arguing with the driver. The driver sticks his hand out and fires 2 shots at him. He just takes a couple steps and collapses.
Detective Menina will put this information to use immediately in her interview with Ashley.
She knows who this is. It could be another man she's around with or something and catches her over here with him, and that's why possibly this happens. We don't know yet. It's early, but that's good information. So hopefully she'll be honest and tell the damn truth.
Tudor leaves Moore to wrap up the crime scene while he heads downtown to interview Shorty and Ashley. But before he reaches his car,
my man, my lord, how long's it been?
He bumps into a couple he helped in an old homicide who turn out to be related to the victim's family.
That's his son.
That's his son.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
no.
his mother right there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The family in Woodbury got killed.
Oh, I'm sorry, folks. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Dan? Yeah. Okay. Detective Tudor. I'll be in touch with you, okay?
Tudor assures them that he'll bring closure to this case.
Let me talk to Dad, man.
43, possible burglary to a residence in progress, 826 East 38th Street.
What's the story with Ashley?
Blackmail.
She was seeing some guy, and I knew Terrell knew of him.
I think Ashley knows who did this. I'll be honest with you, she does. But if she doesn't want to tell us, would she tell you?
Mm-hmm. She's going to tell us.
Okay. There's another detective talking to her now. Let me get down there because I want to make sure she tells us exactly, what happened. Deal with Mom now as much as you can. Okay. Man, I hate to see that again. The family there, their son was murdered 3 days before Christmas, about 5 or 6, 7 years ago. Now I had the case. Extremely nice people. And their son was an innocent victim. It was cold and snowing, giving somebody a ride, and they tried to carjack him and shot and killed him. 2 days before Christmas, I had to go to their house. Christmas time, all lit up and everything. Just the nicest folks you'd ever want to meet.
A 26-year-old victim shot in broad daylight in front of his ex-wife and 3-year-old son. Detective Tudor will have to turn up the heat on Ashley and Shorty to bring closure to a broken family.
Might be more something of a domestic type, I don't know yet.
So Ashley can wrap this up tonight if she's truthful and honest with us, and we'll cooperate.
That's why I asked if the victim's dad knew Ashley and he could get her to cooperate in case she didn't want to tell us the truth down there tonight.
Coming up, Ashley saw the shooting go down.
I heard the gunshot and then seen Terrell stumbling back.
But did she play a role in the murder of her ex-husband?
You're positive who you've identified who you shot, Terrell?
Detective Tudor is working the murder of Terrell Motley, who was shot by an unknown gunman after an argument with his ex-wife over their 3-year-old son.
Hello.
On his way back to headquarters, Tudor gets a call from Menina.
That's the shooter?
She says that in the interrogation, Ashley admitted right away she knows the 2 men in the red SUV and has ID'd the suspected gunman.
Well, it's good news. Ashley has come up with who the shooter is.
But the investigation is far from over.
So we'll wait and see what we got when we get down there and see if it ties in with what this other guy's saying. So, yeah, this is coming together rather quickly, and that's a little unusual.
She identifies Marcus Jackson as a shooter, and then there's a passenger, Leroy Evans, that's with him. This is what Ashley's telling me, but you never know.
Okay. So she has a logbook of it, and she picked him out that way. Okay. Do you still want me to do a photo array? How do you want to do it?
You do it that way, too.
Menina prepares a photo array for Ashley to ID the suspects.
I'm going to take a statement from her, see if she can pick him out of a photo array, and we should be in pretty good shape.
Let's just kind of start from the beginning of this today.
Tudor talks to the victim's best friend, Shorty, to find out what the argument between Ashley and Terrell was about.
Where'd you first see Terrell at today?
He came to my house, so he picked me up.
Okay, where'd you guys go?
We stopped by my cousin's house, and he got the call from his ex. Actually, I guess he heard some dude in the background.
Shorty says that Terrell could hear another man's voice in the background.
Ashley called him then.
Yeah.
Terrell told Ashley he did not want his young son hanging around with another man.
So they had a confrontation. He was like, he coming to get his son.
Shorty and Terrell drove to a gas station to pick up Terrell's son. When they got there, Terrell saw Ashley talking to a man in a gray truck.
He gets out loud to Ashley. First he said, you ain't getting the son, you ain't taking him. But he grabbed him anyway.
Terrell puts his son in the car, then gets back out and mouths off to the guy in the gray truck.
Is this somebody Ashley's dating?
Yeah, it was somebody he was dating.
Okay.
And dude, I think he had a pistol. I'm right on the side of him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had the pistol.
What kind of pistol? Can you tell?
I can tell. I know it was automatic. It had a hammer on it. So I'm just telling my dude to get in the car. He got in the car. I got in the car. He took off.
Shorty claims that he then drove Terrell and his son to a friend's house nearby to cool off.
So I dropped him off, so I just got me a pack of cigarettes.
The shooting took place while Shorty was at the store.
By the time I came back, I seen Ashley in the yard. So I seen Terrell on the ground.
You ever see an SUV?
Once I turned around, you know what I'm saying, in park.
All accounts up to this point place the shooter in a red SUV, not a gray truck. Tudor explores the possibility of whether the gray truck from the gas station was involved.
Let's go back to this gray truck. How'd they have their hair?
No good.
Describe them, what they look like.
The dude, he was light-skinned. Both of them was light-skinned, not the same height.
Shorty's description, short-haired, light-skinned men, does not match the darker, dreadlocked man that Ashley identified as the shooter. And witnesses put a red SUV at the scene, not a gray truck.
Well, we're gonna go check on something from Ashley. I don't know if he's being totally honest at this point, but we'll find out. We need to verify some things.
Hey, Tom.
I'm gonna have to talk to her.
Well, this is what I've taken her statement. This is the deal.
Ashley's story is that after Terrell took her son away from her at the gas station, she became concerned for her son's safety and followed Terrell and Shorty to their friend's house.
So she pulls up. Within 10 seconds, the red car pulls up right behind her. Here comes your victim, walks up to the red car. They have words. They're screaming back and forth. She says she sees him. Shoot him 2 to 3 times. Your victim walks across the street saying, oh, goes up into the yard and claps. She identified him as the shooter. She says that
Ashley backs up her previous verbal ID with an ID from the photo array. She says the shooter is Marcus Jackson and the passenger is Leroy Evans.
This guy, the shooter, and your victim were best friends for like 7 years. They had a falling out.
Does she say anything about meeting somebody at Gray Truck? I need to go talk to her.
Okay.
This guy's saying something totally opposite. Okay, I'm trying to sort a couple things out here. Then when Shorty and Terrell came over to where you were at with your son, who were the 2 guys there in a gray truck? You remember seeing Shorty there?
Yeah, because he was with Terrell. He brought Terrell over.
Right, he said that there's 2 guys in a gray truck that get into it with him. Is that true?
I remember a truck.
Okay, did Terrell get into it with them and just say something to them?
Arguing with somebody. He thought that I was out there with, it was guys out there, and he kind of got upset and was like, we have my son around.
Ashley claims that Shorty is mistaken about her relationship with one of the men in the gray truck.
Then when was the shooter in a gray truck, or were they?
It was the car.
And you're positive who you've identified as who you shot Terrell?
Yes.
Okay, and you've known him for how many years?
As long as I've known Terrell.
Okay.
Although Ashley could be holding back some details, her ID of the shooter matches the description from all witnesses on the scene. Tudor comes to the conclusion that the incident at the gas station was unrelated. The gray truck was not involved in the murder.
Okay, I think that clears that up. We were getting pretty confused and weren't sure if Shorty was being straight with us or not.
Yeah.
And he is. He just didn't. He's telling us what he saw, but he wasn't even there at the shooting, so. Shorty's trying to be helpful since his friend was just murdered. And Shorty's putting 2 and 2 together thinking that must be the guys that did it, because when he got out of the car, the victim got out of the car, he got into it, they were talking to each other. And Shorty thinks in that short period of time, who else could have done it?
What first appeared to be a domestic dispute may actually turn out to be the tragic end to a beef between 2 old friends.
Appreciate you being patient. We had to verify a few things. I'm not doubting your word, but these aren't the people we're looking for. The people we're looking for weren't even there when you showed up with him.
So y'all saying y'all got suspects?
You're going to be free to go. Thank you much. I'm sorry for your loss.
It's a black male, 5'11" to 79. He's got dreads, long dreads to his shoulder.
With a solid ID on the shooter, Detective Menina puts out a call for the arrest of Marcus Jackson, while Tudor briefs the victim's ex-wife, Ashley.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start looking for him. Okay, now if we can get our hands on him, I'm going to outright him for murder and put him in jail. There'll be no bond. And what I need you to do then is also come in and just talk like we're doing now to the prosecutor. That's all they want to do. And they'll have your statement and they'll interview you just like us, and that's it.
Terrell's a very good father, loving person, kind-hearted. I wish he would have just thought about his child, who now saw him die and now knows that his father is gone. You know?
Coming up, officers comb the streets for the victim's old friend and possible killer, Marcus Jackson.
You guys know anything about what occurred down the street?
Officers from the 9th Precinct gather before the hunt for Marcus Jackson and Leroy Evans, the murder suspects still roaming the streets.
Detective Tudor, he recently had a homicide that happened yesterday.
Lieutenant Terry Eden briefs his patrolman on the murder, providing a detailed description of the shooter in the red SUV, Marcus Jackson, and the passenger, Leroy Evans.
Also looking for a person that may have been in the vehicle with the suspect when he allegedly committed the shooting.
The hunt is on. Officer Joshua Reynolds begins the search in a tough neighborhood on the east end of town.
This is the area where the homicide occurred. It's a house with the boards on it. That's where the victim was shot. You can see all the animals that they placed out there. I think that house may be closed down by the city. The city's real big about getting out here and boarding up properties if they're becoming eyesores.
Just a block from the shooting, Officer Reynolds spots people on the streets. He approaches to see if they know the whereabouts of their two suspects.
Okay, so you're brand new to the area?
Yeah. Keep my eyes open for you.
All right, I appreciate it, guys. Hey, fellas. Can I holler you for a minute? You guys know anything about what occurred down the street? No?
But in this neighborhood, no one is talking.
He had on some red tennis shoes and a few red accessories that he was wearing. But there's certainly several people around here that have a lot of red clothes on. I think it's a little bit of a pattern.
Back at headquarters, Tudor gets an unexpected call from one of the suspects they are looking for. It is Leroy Evans, the man that is alleged to have been the passenger in the red SUV.
What kind of vehicle was he in?
He has heard that he is a wanted man.
It's all misinformation. There was a black car involved and had tinted windows and nobody could see in. And I said, were you there when this happened? No.
Leroy attempts to lead Tudor down the wrong path.
We know for a fact that the car the shooter was in is an SUV. Nothing to do with the black car. Nothing to do with the black car tinted windows. So, yeah, I'm going to really believe anything he's got to say. Yeah, he's real credible.
With the neighborhood canvassing not panning out, Tudor has no choice but to call in the U.S. Marshals to intensify the search. Later that afternoon, Detective Tudor escorts Ashley and her mother to the prosecutor's office to confirm that her eyewitness testimony will hold up in court. An hour later,
it went very well, and I'm going to get a warrant filed tomorrow, and we'll go from there. So, it went real well. She told the prosecutor the same story she told us. I think the most important thing is they both agreed it's the right thing to do, and they're doing it. So if we had more people stand up and do what's right, it would certainly help us out a lot. So that, they should be applauded for doing what's right.
next day, the marshals find the suspected shooter, Marcus Jackson.
Hey, guy. Only took you about an hour. What's up?
I'm sorry.
You marshals usually get that.
All right. It's been
good seeing you. Nice job.
Thanks.
Let's go back. I'll go back there with you.
Okay. He's just staying right out there.
Okay. Good, come on.
In less than 24 hours, U.S. Marshals collared Jackson and transported him downtown for questioning.
I got a tip that he might have been over off of Washington Street, one of the businesses. Went over there, saw a vehicle, was at an Applebee's inside the business. Went in there, saw him sitting down eating, and just walked up to him, introduced ourselves. And we just went pretty smooth from there.
I'm just going to tell him right off the bat he's got a warrant for murder. I know there's two sides to every story. If he wants to talk, I'd be glad to hear his side. I'm Detective Tudor with Metro Homicide. There's a warrant for you, and right now you're under arrest for murder. But, yeah, murder. There's two sides to every story, okay? I've got one side. If you want to talk, this is your opportunity.
I know what happened to my buddy, but...
Do you want a lawyer right now? Or what do you want to do?
I don't know what's going on, sir.
Okay, well, you want me to tell you about which case this is, or ask you a few simple questions, or what?
Just ask me. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, I got to get through this first, and I'll tell you what's going on. Huh?
There you go.
Okay, you can talk to him. No, that's fine. No, you want a lawyer. We can't now. You've already asked for a lawyer, so.
The only way we can do this is
No.
if tomorrow you change your mind, we go over and talk to you tomorrow. You want us to come back tomorrow and talk to you? Okay, make up your damn mind.
First time he mentions lawyer, we're pretty much done. We are done. And then all of a sudden we leave the room. No, I want to talk to you guys. Well,
Because of the courageous testimony from the victim's ex-wife, Ashley, a confession is not necessary. Marcus Jackson is charged with the murder of Terrell Motley.
we're going to meet the Motley family. And we're just going to update them on what's happened. That's all we can do at this point. Thank you.
The family of Terrell Motley still mourn the loss of their son and brother.
He's got a lot of uncles and nephews that really miss him. Cousins, and, they really miss him.
He used to run errands for me when I didn't have time. And when something wrong with my car, he would say, "Mama, want me to go fix it?" And I said, "Yeah."
Basically, for me, he was kind of like a mom and dad to me when these two wasn't around, because he always had to babysit us. And he taught me a lot.
Just keep in mind, through the loss of him, we can bring you closer together, it can make you stronger.
Yeah, because that's what he would want.
As you move forward, eventually you'll all be back together someday.
Yeah.
So
That he's going somewhere better than before he was here.
Right. You one of these.
That's the positive thing about it.
Thank you.
You'll see him again.